Well, hello again, guys, from here at Whitley Park. We're just behind the camera. I've been speaking to Eddie Howe just now, and behind those trees there, I can hear Newcastle United coming out to train ahead of tomorrow's game against Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup. Now, what do we want to talk about this morning? Well, the big news to come from Eddie's press conference is that Alexander Isak is likely to be missing for Saturday's game down at Everton. It was a question I asked of him, and it was in the context of Isak having played at Fulham last weekend with a broken toe. You know, last season, Eddie, there was all this talk of players coming back perhaps when they shouldn't have done at times. There was a spate of recurring injuries. James Bunce came in the summer with the view to help him with all of that and with having a different return to play programme. Now, I asked of Eddie, you know, has playing at Fulham with the injury, has that been detrimental to the longer term health of Alexander Isak? Has it aggravated the injury? Eddie said no, that is not the case. And by way of an explanation, he said that Alexander Isak was given a pain-killing injection before the Fulham game, and the expectation, hope, was that he could play through the injury. Now, that wasn't the case, and after 80 minutes, he felt pain in the area, reported that, subsequently didn't train all of last week and was missing against Manchester City. He will definitely miss the game against Wimbledon tomorrow. And Eddie said that the original plan or original thought with the injury was that it would keep him out until after the international break, and they might have to go back to that plan now. I asked him to clarify that. You know, does that mean he misses Everton and the Sweden games during the international fortnight? He said possibly yes. Now, we did roll back on that slightly a little bit later on and said they're assessing him on a day-to-day basis because, as we know, Eddie in injuries, he will never definitively rule a player in or rule a player out. I do think he likes that element of doubt at times, but certainly my information coming out of the weekend and backed up again there by Eddie Day is that Isak won't play down at Everton. Now, why is this a big deal? Well, it's a big deal because Callum Wilson is also out injured. We won't see him until after the international break. Anthony Gordon played there on Saturday and did very well, but by playing Gordon at centre forward, you lose him as a left winger. And you know, Eddie touched on it there. Gordon did brilliantly on Saturday, but he is receiving the ball in unnatural positions with his back to goal, and you're undoubtedly weaker in that area by playing a player there whose preference probably isn't to be in those areas. Now, against Wimbledon tomorrow, we're going to see William Masula for the first time from the off being restricted or limited rather is a better word, to 9 minutes so far this season down at Fulham. Now, Masula, by Eddie's admission, is Newcastle's fourth choice striker. And yes, I think we're all excited to see him. You know, what we saw in pre-season and then even down at Fulham, and Eddie's spoken at length in answer to my question this morning about him. There's certainly something there to work with. You know, he's big, he's strong. I think there's sort of, don't take this the wrong way, but there's vibes of Dominic Solanke about him, whatever you may think or otherwise of Solanke. But, you know, there's definitely potential there. But I know certainly guys in Denmark were surprised when Newcastle committed £10 million, potentially rising to 15 million for him. There's not a load of noise around this player who's never scored a senior league goal in his career, and for him to be the only striker Newcastle brought in this summer, when for me it's been crying out for not months, years even. I remember coming out of last summer asking a question of Eddie at the training ground, and I always remember his response. He said, I see what you're getting at there, and yes, I was getting at, why haven't you signed a striker when Wilson and Isak are so injury prone? And that was based on, you know, that's not I think they're injury prone. The record showed that both players will, over the course of a season, miss a period of time. They will miss games. Now, the problem, and you do call it a problem, was the previous campaign had finished with Isak and Wilson both fit for the final 3 or 4 months. And they played in tandem where one came in, one came out. They kept each other on the toes. There was spells even where, you know, they were on the pitch together, and it worked brilliantly. It took Newcastle into the Champions League, but that for me was a false sense of security. And to not bring in a striker last summer, I think they paid for it at periods last year when Wilson was out and the toll was on Isak. Isak is a better player when Wilson's fit. Wilson is a better player when Isak is fit, for so many reasons. Now, they've played now 4 times since the start of last season without Isak or Wilson in the team, and they haven't won any of them. Saturday was the 4th occasion, even though you'd probably argue a draw against Manchester City was a very good result. And here we are, you know, going into another crucial big week without a striker. Yes, they should be able to negotiate Wimbledon tomorrow, but then going down to Everton as well. And I just think for all of the money invested and to have 5 goalkeepers in the squad, yet only have 2 strikers who do miss games, that is just mismanagement for me. I really, think that I've said it before and I'll repeat it here again. The fact that we're talking about an Alexander Isak injury when Callum Wilson is also out, just highlights the issues and the weakness they do have in that position, in such a key, crucial position as well. Now, while that might sound a little negative on the back of a game against Manchester City on Saturday that was wholly positive, I do think it's got to be spoken about, because it could be an issue for Newcastle going forward this season if one of them again picks up an injury, as is probably likely. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now, one big positive to come out of the weekend, as much as there was the collective as well, and I think I said in my video on Saturday, and the phrase which has come into mind since then, I know some of you guys below the line mentioned this as well, it was proof of concept, that game against Manchester City. You know, proof, reassurance that everything we thought the team was built on and has been built on, it still does exist. Now, of course, the challenge, and we'll revisit this later in the week, is doing that at Everton on Saturday at tea time. But one player who's got a lot of love out of the game, certainly in the comments, Lewis Hall, and rightly so as well. That was his best game for Newcastle by a distance. And you almost forget as well that he came in for £28 million last summer, and he was only 18 at the time. Now, he's only just turned 20, and he's only been a left back really for 3 years, I think it is. He came up through the age groups as a very tidy centre midfielder. I've spoken to people who've watched him play, and that was the area of the park everyone thought he was going to develop into, you know, a Premier League central midfielder. He played for England at that level. It hasn't worked out like that. He's gone to left back. There's times when I've watched him and thought, why not just play him in midfield? If that's the area of the park he's grown up accustomed to. He looks so like a fish out of water at left back, and positionally at times, you know, he left himself exposed, and even on the ball, that tidy as he was having that difficult a time defensively. On the ball, he became sloppy, and that side of his game went awry as well. When on Saturday against Manchester City as well, I thought he protected himself so well to the point where he was never exposed. He never got himself in tricky situations, and then when he had the ball, he was able to impact with it as well. He was passing going forward, picking passes through the lines, invariably always accurate too. So for me on Saturday, I think that would have done him the world of good. And given he has almost been a little bit of a project player as well. Now, could you argue Newcastle have been trying to sign left backs for so long? I don't think they should have signed a project left back last summer, by the way, and I think it was to their cost last season. Dan Burn stepped up and did brilliantly. But I think they need to go out and spend money on a ready starting left back, the same way Guimaraes came in, the same way Botman came in, the same way others came in and were able to play. They haven't really done that at left back, but nonetheless, Lewis Hall now on Saturday, everything pointed towards giving him a run, keeping him in the team and seeing how he goes. Play him against Wimbledon tomorrow, you know, give him another 90 minutes. He's only a 20-year-old lad. He should be able to handle these 3 games in a week. So I'm excited to see his development this season. And actually on the subject of young players as well, I was here on Friday night watching the under-21s play against Blackburn, and one player to keep an eye on, a midfielder, Anthony Munday. He's only just turned 18. He's got all the raw attributes to be a top midfielder for me, and certainly guys, you know, around here, those who watch the 21s more than myself, they see quite a lot of them, but they say he's the one who could be the next cab off the ranks, so to speak, in terms of he can develop, could become a first team player. So we won't see the likes of Munday tomorrow night. Eddie is going to pick a changed team, but it will be a strong team. He almost as good as confirmed with us through there that Miguel Almiron will come in. Now, Almiron, where and what has happened to him now? I think there was the expectation that he would go this summer. He's obviously fallen down the pecking order. He's behind Jacob Murphy, justifiably so. I thought Murphy was very good on Saturday against Manchester City. Yes, that final ball, that final choice delivery will probably always be slightly lacking on occasion with him, but in terms of that endeavour and that intent and the ability to take you from A to B to C down the right flank, he's doing that very well at the moment, and justifiably probably is in the team. So yeah, I think we'll see a greatly changed team tomorrow. One subject we did touch on with him is out of the 5 goalkeepers, is it 5? Yeah, who was going to play tomorrow night. It'll probably be Nick Pope or Martin Dubravka. I don't think we're going to see Vlachodimos at all. He was a £20 million accountancy trick. I just don't really see him as a Newcastle player really, which, yeah, is quite something, but it just shows you the perilous situation they were in that last week of June with regards PSR. So, yeah, guys, it is Wimbledon tomorrow night, where it did make me laugh when Eddie said there this morning he's watched a few videos of Wimbledon now, and they do have a watertight defence. It's a shame the stadium wasn't watertight last week, and we might not be here having this rearranged fixture. But a game in which you'd fully expect Newcastle to go through, and of course we already know the reward for that would be Chelsea, and Chelsea aren't nothing bad at the moment, are they? Yeah. So, yes, guys, I'll be back tomorrow night from St James's Park, reflecting on what we fully expect to be a home victory. And I'm really excited to see Willis Sula. I must admit, you know, for all of the noise as to whether is he worth the 10, 15 million pound, everything I've just said about, should they have brought in someone more senior or a ready-made replacement for the likes of Wilson and Isak. Yeah, let's see what he's got, because certainly that little bit of evidence we've seen so far, the attributes are there for Newcastle to work on an exciting player. And Eddie said to us, as coaches, we've really had to accept this project coming in and get to work with him. And there's certainly a lot to work with. So yeah, guys, please hit like, comment, subscribe. What team would you play tomorrow? Say that below the line as well. Tell me what you think about Lewis Hall in the left back situation and up front. What do you think of Newcastle not signing a striker since Alexander Isak 2 years ago? So yeah, guys, like I say, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you again for watching. Take care. Goodbye.